In the tranquil suburb of Leawood, Kansas City, a community known for its serene streets and friendly faces, the day began like any other. The sun rose gently, casting a warm glow over the neatly lined houses and the lush greenery of the neighborhood parks. Among these peaceful scenes was the Leawood Public Swimming Pool, a hub of activity and joy, especially in the simmering heat of June. Alexandra Kemp, known affectionately as Allie, a 19-year-old university student, was an embodiment of the town's spirit. With her bright eyes and easy smile, she was a familiar and beloved figure, especially at the swimming pool where she worked part-time. Allie's days were filled with laughter, splashes of water, and the delighted screams of children diving into the cool blue water. But on June 18, this idyllic image was shattered. As the day wound down and shadows lengthened, a chilling silence descended upon the pool. It was in this eerie quiet that a gruesome discovery was made. Allie, who had been a source of joy and energy just hours before, was found lifeless in the pump room of the swimming pool. Her body, once so vibrant and full of life, lay still in a haunting stillness that contrasted sharply with the usual bustle of the place. The news of Allie's death spread like wildfire, casting a dark shadow over the sunny suburb. The community, once secure in its tranquility, was now gripped by fear and uncertainty. The police arrived, their sirens piercing the somber quiet, a grim reminder that the safety of this small haven had been irrevocably breached. As the investigation began, the pool, which had always been a place of refuge and happiness, transformed into a grim crime scene. The once clear blue water seemed to ripple with unspoken horrors, and every corner held the potential for hidden, sinister secrets. The community held its breath, waiting for answers, while the shadows of the evening seemed to whisper of the darkness that had invaded their peaceful world. This was just the beginning of a tangled web of mystery, a case that would test the limits of justice and shake the foundations of a community that thought it knew itself. The quest to unravel the truth behind Allie's untimely death was about to begin, leading down paths none could have foreseen. The Leawood Police Department, usually accustomed to dealing with minor disturbances and peaceful community matters, found themselves thrust into a labyrinth of complexity with Allie Kemp's case. The crime scene, the public swimming pool where Allie worked, was now cordoned off with yellow tape, its cheerful atmosphere replaced by a grim air of foreboding. Detective James Lawson, a seasoned investigator with years of experience, was assigned to lead the investigation. As he stepped into the pool area, his eyes scanned the scene meticulously, trying to piece together the events that led to this tragedy. The pool's still waters mirrored the somber sky above, a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded within its confines. Lawson and his team combed through the scene, collecting evidence with painstaking attention to detail. They found several key pieces of evidence that seemed out of place in the otherwise orderly surroundings. Among these were a pill bottle from a first aid kit, lying open near the pump room, and a set of footprints that led away from the pool, disappearing into the maze of the surrounding neighborhood. As the detectives delved deeper, the complexity of the case began to unravel. The initial clues suggested a violent struggle, indicated by the disarray in the pump room and the defensive wounds on Allie's body. It was evident that this was no accident. It was a deliberate and brutal act. The community, still reeling from the shock, watched as the police worked tirelessly, hoping for quick answers. But each clue seemed to lead to more questions, painting a picture of a crime that was as baffling as it was horrifying. Detective Lawson knew that they were dealing with a cunning perpetrator, one who had left behind a trail of evidence that was as revealing as it was enigmatic. He pondered over the clues, aware that they were only at the beginning of what promised to be a long and challenging pursuit of justice for Allie. The detective steeled himself for the journey ahead, determined to bring the culprit to light and restore peace to the shattered community of Leawood. As the sun set on another day, the police continued their work, under the weight of a silent promise to Allie and her family. They would not rest until her killer was found. The investigation was in full swing, and the hunt for the truth was just beginning. In the heart of the grieving community of Leawood, memories of Allie Kemp began to surface, painting the picture of a life filled with promise and vitality, now tragically cut short. Born on October 11, 1982, in this very suburb, Allie had been a beacon of energy and aspiration, embodying the spirit of the town she called home. From her earliest days, Allie was known for her boundless enthusiasm. Her childhood was a whirlwind of activity, from football matches where she darted across the field with tireless energy to the numerous clubs and societies she joined at school. She was a bright spark in the classroom, her intellect shining as brightly as her athletic prowess. Her aspirations were as vast as the Kansas plains she grew up on. After graduating high school in 2001, Allie set her sights on Kansas State University. There, she immersed herself in the study of ecology, driven by a deep-seated desire to make a difference in the world. Her dreams were not just confined to her immediate surroundings. She harbored plans to travel to Russia to aid orphan children, a testament to her compassionate heart. During the summer of 2002, after her first year at university, Allie returned home, her mind buzzing with ideas and plans for the future. She sought a summer job, a common pursuit for a college student, but for Allie, it was more than just a way to pass the time. She was always looking to connect, to be part of her community, and the local swimming pool provided the perfect opportunity. Her relationship with Phil, her high school sweetheart, added another layer to her summer. Despite attending different universities, their bond remained strong, united by shared memories and unwavering affection. They were the quintessential young couple, their love story intertwined with the fabric of Leawood. But now, as her friends and family gathered, sharing stories and photographs of Allie, the weight of her absence was palpable. Each tale, each memory, was a reminder of a future unjustly taken, of plans unfulfilled and dreams left unrealized. The vibrant, ambitious girl who had once been a fixture at school events, who had laughed and played under the Kansas sun, was no more. As the community mourned, the investigation into her untimely death continued, with detectives piecing together the final days of her life, searching for any clue that might lead them to her killer. Allie's spirit, so full of life and hope, now haunted the quiet streets of Leawood, a ghostly reminder of the fragility of life and the shadow that now hung over this once peaceful town. June 18 began as an ordinary day at the Leawood public swimming pool. The weather was overcast, the usual throng of children and families sparse due to the gloomy skies. Allie, ever the dedicated employee, arrived to take over from Phil, her boyfriend. However, she reconsidered her decision, planning instead to enjoy an evening date with him, leaving the pool in the capable hands of her younger brother. The day trudged on with the lethargy that often accompanies gray skies. Allie spent her hours behind a reception desk, her eyes occasionally drifting over the pages of a book she was reading, her thoughts possibly wandering to the evening plans with Phil. The clock's hands moved slowly, marking time in a place where time usually seemed to fly. As the day neared its end, a shocking discovery shattered the quiet. Allie's younger brother arrived for his shift, expecting to find his sister wrapping up her day. Instead, he found her belongings, her phone, her keys, but no sign of Allie. An eerie feeling crept over him as he called out for her, his voice echoing off the empty pool walls, met only with silence. Panic began to set in as he searched the area, the sense of something terribly wrong growing with each passing moment. When their father arrived, the anxiety and fear were palpable. Together, they scoured the pool, a place of joy now transformed into a maze of dread. The horror reached its peak in the pump room, a place seldom frequented by anyone other than the maintenance staff. In the dim light, Allie's father stumbled upon a harrowing scene. A piece of tarp, with a human leg protruding from beneath it. His heart sank as he approached, his worst fears confirmed when he uncovered Allie's lifeless body, a sight that would haunt him forever. The tragedy was compounded by the brutal marks on her body, the evidence of a violent struggle. The scene was chaotic, a stark contrast to the meticulous order that usually characterized Allie's life. It was clear that she had fought for her life, a testament to her spirit, even in her final moments. The sun set on Leawood that day, leaving behind a darkness that went beyond the absence of light. It was a darkness born of an unspeakable act, a community's loss, and the realization that their haven of safety and peace was now pierced by the brutal reality of a senseless crime. The echoes of that dark day reverberated through the hearts of all who knew Allie, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the cruelty that sometimes lurks in the shadows. As the investigation into Allie Kemp's untimely death unfolded, the detectives found themselves delving into a complex web of forensics. The autopsy revealed chilling details. Allie had suffered a severe head injury, and the cause of her death was asphyxiation. The brutality of the attack was evident in the defensive wounds that marred her once vibrant self, speaking volumes of her desperate struggle in her final moments. The forensic team worked meticulously, scouring every piece of evidence. Among the most telling were the DNA traces found on Allie's clothing and on a pill bottle near the scene. These biological markers were silent witnesses to the horrific crime, holding within them the key to unlocking the mystery of Allie's killer. Detective Lawson, leading the investigation, felt a mix of professional determination and personal anguish. Each piece of evidence brought them closer to understanding the crime, yet also painted a more vivid and disturbing picture of Allie's last moments. The team processed everything with a profound sense of responsibility, knowing that each clue was a step towards justice for Allie. As the news of the forensic findings circulated, the community of Leawood was gripped with a mix of sorrow and fear. The reality that someone amongst them could have committed such a heinous act was both shocking and unsettling. The tranquility of their town had been shattered, replaced by whispered conversations and sidelong glances as neighbors regarded each other with newfound suspicion and unease. The police, meanwhile, faced the daunting task of piecing together the puzzle. The DNA evidence was a critical lead, but it also meant sifting through countless potential matches. Each sample had to be meticulously compared against the evidence, a process that was both time-consuming and fraught with tension. As the investigation progressed, the pool where Allie had spent so many happy hours became a symbol of lost innocence. The blue waters, once a source of laughter and enjoyment, now reflected back the solemn faces of the investigators as they worked tirelessly, seeking answers in a case that seemed to grow more complex by the day. The veil of mystery surrounding Allie's death was slowly lifting, but with each new revelation came more questions. Who could have harbored such malice towards her? What chain of events led to such a tragic end? The community awaited answers, holding on to the hope that justice would soon prevail, even as they mourned the loss of a bright young soul taken far too soon. In the wake of the brutal murder of Allie Kemp, Detective James Lawson and his team faced the formidable task of narrowing down suspects. Each potential lead seemed to branch into multiple possibilities, creating a labyrinthine challenge for the investigators. The pool of suspects initially included those closest to Allie, her boyfriend Phil, her father, and her brother. Phil, heartbroken and cooperative, was among the first to be interviewed. His alibi for the time of the murder was solid, corroborated by several friends. He willingly provided a DNA sample, which eventually did not match the samples found at the crime scene. The same procedure was followed for Allie's father and brother, both equally distraught and eager to help in any way they could. Their DNA also did not match the evidence collected. As each family member was cleared of suspicion, the realization dawned on the Leawood community that the perpetrator was still at large. This revelation sent ripples of fear through the town. The police cast their net wider, examining Allie's social circles, her university acquaintances, and regulars at the pool. They left no stone unturned, interviewing anyone who might have had even the slightest connection to Allie. Detective Lawson felt the pressure mounting. The community's trust in the police to find the killer was palpable, and with each passing day without an arrest, anxiety in Leawood grew. The investigation team worked tirelessly, sifting through mountains of interviews, surveillance footage, and phone records, searching for the elusive break in the case. Simultaneously, an extensive forensic analysis was underway. Every piece of evidence was scrutinized, every sample compared. The investigators knew that the DNA evidence held the key to unlocking the mystery of Allie's death, but finding the match was like searching for a needle in a haystack. As the investigation continued, the once peaceful town of Leawood transformed. The trust and openness that had been a hallmark of the community were now replaced with suspicion and unease. Every stranger was scrutinized, every unexplained absence questioned. The murder of Allie Kemp had created a chasm in the heart of the community, and until her killer was found, that chasm would only continue to grow. The detectives remained resolute, driven by the knowledge that Allie's family and friends, and the entire community of Leawood, were relying on them to bring her killer to justice. The case was more than a professional duty. It had become a personal mission to restore peace and safety to a town shattered by an act of incomprehensible violence. As days turned into weeks with no arrest in the murder of Allie Kemp, the community of Leawood took an active role in the pursuit of justice. Allie's father, driven by a profound sense of loss and a determination to see his daughter's killer brought to justice, spearheaded a campaign that galvanized the entire town. In a bold move, he offered a $50,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of Allie's murderer. This substantial sum, pooled from family savings and community contributions, was a testament to the collective desire for closure and justice. But the most innovative step taken was the use of billboards. Allie's father, in collaboration with local businesses, arranged for billboards across Leawood and the surrounding areas. These billboards displayed the sketch of the suspect based on eyewitness accounts, along with a hotline number for tips. This strategy was unprecedented in the town's history and marked a turning point in the investigation. The billboards caught the eye of everyone passing by, serving as a constant reminder of the tragedy and the need for vigilance. They also symbolized the community's refusal to let Allie's case fade into the background. The large, haunting image of the suspect loomed over the streets of Leawood, a silent sentinel in the search for justice. Simultaneously, Phil, Allie's boyfriend, organized volunteers to distribute flyers and canvass neighborhoods. Groups of residents, many of whom had known Allie since she was a child, walked door to door, handing out leaflets with the suspect's sketch and details about the case. They spoke to locals, joggers in parks, and patrons at coffee shops. Anyone who might have seen something that could lead to a break in the case. The response from the community was overwhelming. Tips began to flood in, each one meticulously logged and followed up by the police. While most leads did not pan out, the sheer volume of community involvement brought renewed energy to the investigation. This communal effort did more than just aid the investigation. It helped to restore a sense of unity and purpose to a community shattered by tragedy. The people of Leawood, bound together by their shared grief and determination, showed that in the face of unimaginable darkness, the light of community spirit and cooperation could still shine through. As the weeks passed, Detective Lawson and his team found themselves buoyed by this community support. The case was challenging, but the collective resolve of Leawood provided the strength to push forward, to delve deeper into the investigation, and to keep the hope of finding Allie's killer alive. The relentless pursuit of justice for Allie Kemp began to gain momentum as the community's efforts brought a critical breakthrough. A flood of tips from the public had initially seemed overwhelming, but among these, a singularly disturbing pattern emerged. Several witnesses reported seeing a mysterious man lingering near the pool in the days leading up to Allie's murder. This man, described as an outsider, was often seen watching from a distance, his presence marked by an unsettling aura. Some witnesses even recalled seeing him filming or taking photos from behind the bushes, his actions cloaked in secrecy and suspicion. More alarmingly, others had spotted a similar-looking individual driving a beige Ford pickup truck around the pool's parking lot, casting a predatory gaze over the area. These sightings, disturbing in their implications, steered the investigation in a new direction. The police began to consider the possibility that Allie might have been watched, stalked by someone with sinister intentions. Phil, in his interviews, revealed that Allie had expressed unease about being alone at the pool, feeling as if she was being watched, though she had never seen her observer. This revelation sent chills down the spines of the investigators. The idea that Allie had sensed danger but had not known its source was a tragic thought. It also provided a crucial angle to the investigation. The perpetrator was possibly someone obsessed with Allie, someone who had taken the time to watch and plan. The detectives worked with the witnesses to create a composite sketch of the mysterious man. This image was promptly added to the billboards and flyers, renewing the call for public assistance. The face of the suspect now had features, a tangible representation of the evil that had lurked in the shadows of Leawood. Meanwhile, the police pored over the new leads, interviewing residents and cross-referencing the descriptions with known offenders in the area. The task was daunting, but the detectives were driven by a relentless determination, fueled by the community's support and the haunting memory of Allie's bright, cut-short life. As the investigation intensified, a palpable sense of anticipation gripped Leawood. Residents held their breath, hoping that each new day would bring the news of an arrest, that the shadow of fear and uncertainty hanging over their town would finally be lifted. The mystery of Allie Kemp's murder was slowly unraveling, thread by thread, drawing ever closer to a resolution that the entire community longed for. The days turned to weeks, and the weeks to months, as the investigation into Allie Kemp's murder continued relentlessly. The community of Leawood, united in their grief and determination, watched and waited for the breakthrough that would bring Allie's killer to justice. And then it came. A tip, seemingly insignificant amidst a sea of others, caught the attention of Detective Lawson. The caller mentioned a local man, Benjamin Appleby, whose resemblance to the composite sketch was uncanny. Appleby was known in the area, but had managed to stay off the radar of the police until now. Detective Lawson and his team wasted no time. They visited Appleby's residence, only to find that he had seemingly vanished, leaving no trace behind. His sudden disappearance, immediately following the distribution of the new composite sketch, raised alarm bells. Determined to follow every lead, the detectives dug deeper into Appleby's background. They uncovered a troubling past marked by minor offenses and a series of unremarkable jobs. But nothing in his history suggested he was capable of the brutality inflicted on Allie. Despite this, the uncanny resemblance to the sketch and his sudden disappearance were too coincidental to ignore. The net began to close around Appleby. The police enlisted the help of neighboring jurisdictions, spreading the search wider. It was a race against time, a desperate hunt for a man who might hold the key to solving the mystery that had plagued Leawood for months. The community rallied, their vigilance renewed. Sightings of Appleby or his vehicle were reported and followed up with urgency. The once peaceful town had transformed into a hive of activity, every resident now part of a collective effort to aid in the capture of a potential murderer. Amidst this tense atmosphere, a break in the case finally emerged. A traffic stop in a neighboring state led to the apprehension of a man fitting Appleby's description. The moment the news reached Leawood, a collective sigh of relief mixed with anxiety swept through the town. Could this be the end of their nightmare? Was the man responsible for Allie's death finally in custody? As Appleby was brought back to Leawood for questioning, the town held its breath. The community, which had been rocked to its core, awaited justice. Detective Lawson prepared for the interrogation, knowing that the answers he and the town so desperately sought were within reach. The face of evil, which had lurked in the shadows for so long, was finally coming into the light. The interrogation room in the Leawood Police Department was a stark, unassuming space, but on that day, it became the arena where the final act of Allie Kemp's tragic story unfolded. Detective Lawson faced Benjamin Appleby, the man whose apprehension had ignited a flicker of hope in the hearts of the Leawood community. Appleby, now cornered by the relentless pursuit of justice, began to unravel. The once confident facade crumbled as the weight of evidence bore down on him. He was presented with the DNA evidence, the eyewitness accounts, and the haunting composite sketch that bore his likeness. The walls of denial he had built around himself were slowly being torn down. Under the steady, piercing gaze of Detective Lawson, Appleby's resistance faded. The truth began to spill out in a torrent of confessions. He recounted the fateful day, describing how an obsession with Allie had driven him to the brink of madness. His narrative was a chilling account of a mind twisted by fixation, leading to the heinous act that robbed Allie of her life and shattered the peace of Leawood. The confession, while bringing a grim sense of satisfaction, was also a somber reminder of the precious life lost. Allie's family, who had been waiting for this moment with bated breath, received the news with a mix of relief and profound sorrow. The revelation did not bring back their beloved Allie, but it offered a closure to the harrowing chapter of uncertainty and fear. The trial was a swift affair, buoyed by the overwhelming evidence and Appleby's confession. He was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, a verdict that resonated through the courtroom and across the town. Justice had been served, but the echoes of the tragedy would linger in Leawood for years to come. In the aftermath, Allie's memory was honored in numerous ways by the community. Her vibrant spirit and unfulfilled dreams were commemorated through scholarships in her name and awareness campaigns for public safety. Her family, though forever marked by loss, found solace in the outpouring of support and love from the people of Leawood. Detective Lawson, who had steered the case through its darkest hours, felt a solemn sense of duty fulfilled. The streets of Leawood, once shadowed by fear, slowly began to regain their tranquility. The case of Allie Kemp had come to an end, but the lessons it imparted on the importance of community, vigilance, and justice would endure. As life in Leawood gradually returned to its usual rhythm, the memory of Allie Kemp remained, a reminder of both the fragility and the resilience of the human spirit. Her legacy lived on in the hearts of those she had touched, a bittersweet testament to a life that, though tragically cut short, had left an indelible mark on a community united in grief and strength.